We begin this story in Korea, where a massive crowd is gathered before a shrine in hopes of celebrating the new year. The announcer tells everyone to start the countdown from 5 seconds together. Among the normal citizens was a man who was wearing a hoodie over his face, covered in an intense blue aura as he stood in the crowd. His face was filled with worry as the countdown began. Looking at his hands, he curses at first but soon realizes that he has come back. His hands were trembling as he had returned to the time before he got swept away in the game. But as he gripped his hand tightly, he realized that he was actually at the final round of the game before, the 20th round. He wished that he could have stopped time. But then a flashback is seen of a window, showing that the rune of regression was on the last of its number of uses. 100 out of 100. Since this was his last regression and final chance, our main character decided that this time, he was going to finish the game. To do that, he needed to bring 4 other people with him to the last round. And so, he started to look around the crowd, wondering who would be good enough to be brought along to the final round. We turn back to 7 minutes before, where we see a douchebag. His friends were excited over the fact that they were becoming actual adults soon, meaning they didn't need to have their fake ids. But the bald friend was thinking about his future after graduation, wondering if he should become a delivery man. He then turns to the douchebag, known as Min, to ask him about what he was going to do. Min reminded him that he was going to become a gangster. His friends were worried about him as they heard his answer. They thought he was joking, but Min was confident about his choice, as his motto is, "You only live once." His friends decided to laugh along with his joke, while thinking that he was stupid and that they needed to cut ties with him after they graduate. But then one of them was curious about what happened to his personal shuttle. Min smiles after being reminded and told his friends that he wouldn't let that gloomy bastard be free even after they graduate, making his friends laugh as they think of him as the devil. Min continues to tell them that he wanted to play with his shuttle for as long as he could, until one of his friends asks him if his shuttle was the one standing over there. Min turns to see and spots his shuttle, our main character, standing amongst the crowd. He immediately smiles and tells his friend that he was right as the countdown started. But then he sees the powerful blue aura that our main character was giving off, making him wonder what it was, because looking at him right now, Min felt that he was different from usual. He also felt pissed off by our main character staring at him and wanted to go over to his side to beat him up, but his friends stopped him, telling him to let it go since it was the first day of the new year. He agreed with what his friends said and decided to let him go today. And so, the group of bullies huddled together to celebrate the new year and for finally becoming adults. But then a voice echoed throughout the air, saying these words: "Humans are interesting, to celebrate the new year when they don't know what situation they are in." Min was alarmed to hear that, and started to ask his friends if they were the ones saying it, but they denied it. Until a beautiful and majestic angel-like being descended from the skies, telling everyone that seeing you all for it when you don't know anything. "To us, you seem like monkeys in a cage." The people in the crowd couldn't believe what they were seeing. Some thought of it as a New Year's event while others wondered if it was an actual angel. Our main character was looking up as well, still hating on the angel even though he had gone through this event 99 times already. The angel started to laugh to herself, calling all the humans before her as trash. She noted that they seemed to be love-struck by her appearance, but warned them that it would be best to not think about such useless things, since she had no intention of being around trash. But seeing how everyone was stunned by her appearance and words, she could see that they could hear her voice well. A single man from the crowd started to yell at the angel, shouting and asking her if she was cosplaying or whatever the hell it was. He continues to curse at the angel while our main character thought that it was a shame. The angel was still smiling but became silent after hearing the man's words thrown at her. But then her eyes started to glow bright red, saying how annoying. In a single moment, the man's head exploded, blasting blood to everyone near him. The young man beside him started to panic as he saw the blood covering his hands and clothes. As he let out a scream, everyone started to run for their lives. Min was still confused by what was going on as he stood in place. The angel was super pissed this time, over the fact that a trashy human was speaking informally to her mighty self. She tells the remaining trash that they didn't have any right to ask her any questions and to not act arrogantly unless they wanted their heads to explode like the man from before. She continues to talk down on everyone, asking them if they knew what was going on, but she cancelled her own question. After all, humans were just trash to her. So she tells them that she was going to explain every single thing. Our main character closes his eyes, wondering if he needed to listen to the explanation for the 100th time. The angel tells everyone that they will be playing a game from now on, for 20 rounds, on the 1st of every month. Their souls will be transported to a new dimension to participate in a game. That was one of the things that we human beings needed to do. To complete the given quests. If they manage to complete those quests, they will receive rewards and return back to the real world. Young Min still had that blurry look on his face as members of the crowd started to discuss what the angel was telling them. She could hear them talking about completing the quest meant that the angel will spare them, but she corrects them, revealing to everyone that even if they complete the quest, not everyone will survive. Since the angel was going to spare half of the participants in order of completion. The members of the crowd couldn't believe what they were hearing as the angel continues to tell them not to worry so much as she won't be taking all of them. The crowd began to go crazy and started to yell at one another after hearing what she said. The angel then reveals that only humans around the world aged between 15 and 29 will participate. Our main character didn't know that he would do this game 100 times as soon as he turned 20. An old man in the crowd was happy to hear that, and shouted out that he was saved while Yeonmin's friends realized that they were screwed. His friend grabs onto the old man, pissed off over the fact that he was happy. But Yeonmin stops him, reminding his friend that he would die like the guy whose head exploded because of the mess he was making. The angel started to scan the planet and concluded that there will be over 1.8 billion participants in the game. And so, with the wave of her hand and a smile on her face, she announces the start of the game after having explained it to everyone. Our main character was now standing alone in a completely bright and white space. The angel's voice continues to be heard as she explains to everyone that they have all entered their own individual spaces, which only they can see. She explains to them that they needed to shape their body in preparation for the soul transfer as the main character sees his reflection in a mirror. It was a type of customization, since they only had one chance, the angel warned them to choose wisely. After doing this for 99 times, our main character knew exactly what to do. After choosing his customization, he requested for his nickname to be Black Scythe. We are now teleported to a vast plain area, filled with a green field. Our main character had finally arrived inside the game, making it his official 100th time. Since he had the same appearance since the 12th time, our main character felt that his avatar was just like his own body now. The other people of Earth started to teleport into the game as well, going over to their friends while being amazed by their new looks. Our main character looked at them, and could see that as usual, everyone had made themselves look cool and pretty, something which was not smart to do. He knew that in the other world, the strong prey on the weak. If your appearance is too noticeable, it's easier to become a target. Since if you die in the other world, you die in the real world as well. Looking elsewhere, our main character thought that it was time that a certain someone came. And there he is, the mightiest douchebag bully, Wang Yongmin, making his appearance and looking all jacked up. Our main character could only turn away and smile awkwardly, because he expected Yongmin to buff himself after all. The angel finally made her appearance as well. Looking at everyone's faces, she could see that they liked their new avatars, and even their fearful expressions towards her was great. She started to count and could see that there were 1,800,000 people, so all the humans from Seoul were now here. But the people couldn't believe that there were actually 1.8 million people here as they looked around. The angel heard their words, and immediately became angry, shouting at them that it was none of their business since there were other spaces where other angels were proceeding with the round. And so, to begin with the official start, the angel began with a simple explanation. She tells everyone to say out the words, status window in their heads, summoning a golden window in front of themselves. Ryu Min was looking at his own status window but thought that it was making him sigh. After all, this is his 100th time doing the same tutorial. The angel continued to watch over everyone as they opened their status window, telling them that if they played a game before, then they would know how shitty they were right now. And so, she tells them to become stronger, and to survive till the end and clear all 20 rounds. The angel reveals to them with a smile on her face, that if they clear the game and survive, then they would be granted a single wish. The angel even tells them that she had prepared a gift for all of them. Yeonmin immediately opens his inventory to check what it is. He places his hand inside the inventory window, and could see that it was a random rune. The angel explains that the random rune was something that they can only use once when they are level 1, and it is the only item given to them in the beginning. She tells them to hold it and say the word use in their head, only then would they be able to use the item. Yeonmin followed her instructions immediately. The moment he said use in his mind, the random rune shattered in his hand. His face changed expression as he saw what came out from it. The angel was giggling to herself after seeing their expressions. Some of them weren't pleased, so she tells them that no matter what they get, they must accept the outcome, since this was their luck. Since they were finished with the runes, the angel wanted to get on with the real thing. With a snap of her fingers, a new golden window appears in front of everyone. It was a quest window, telling them to kill 100 goblins each. The appearance of the quest window also summons the goblins that they were going to kill. Everyone soon spots the goblin from a far distance, thinking that it truly felt as if they were in a game. But then, the angel warns them not to get excited so early as not all of the goblins have been summoned. Just like that scene from Avengers Infinity War, more golden pillars of light started to appear, summoning even more goblins onto the vast plains. The players started to panic upon seeing the huge number of goblins that were coming in. 10,000 humans versus 50,000 goblins, announced the angel as she tells them to fight to the death. The goblin starts off the battle by letting out a fierce roar and starts to charge towards the players who were panicking amongst themselves. Ryu Min was the only one with balls made of steel as he walked past everyone. He continued to walk with his hands in his pocket towards the goblin who was charging at full speed. The other players tried to warn him that it was dangerous. But with a single menacing glare in his eyes, Ryu Min simply kicks the goblin straight in its ugly face. When you are a part of a group, the first impression is the most important. Ryu must imprint the image of his power on their minds. To avoid being swarmed by pesky flies, Ryu needed to show how strong he is right here and now. And most importantly, he needed to be the object of the angel's attention, who seems impressed by his actions right now. With a twirl of the goblin's dagger in his hand, Ryu needed to put on a performance for everyone present. In a single dash, he cuts down the two goblins that were charging towards him easily. The other players were soon impressed by his actions, wondering who Ryu is and believing that his nickname Black Scythe was pretty awesome. After seeing how easily Ryu killed some of the goblins, the other players started to realize that goblins were actually the weakest mobs in video games. So some of them started to gain some confidence, thinking that they can do the same as Ryu and that it would be easier once they were fighting the goblins. That is until one of the goblins instantly appears and slams into a player. The goblin was smiling after throwing down a player, with a knife in his chest. The other players saw this and the confidence that was building inside of them disappeared instantly as they panicked and ran away from the goblins. Ryu was keeping an eye on them as he continued to cut down the goblins one by one. Inferno was the word written as he sees the players being brutally slaughtered by the weakest monsters in a video game. At this point, no one would mistake this for a game anymore. Right now, there is only one train of thought inside everyone's mind: survival. The instinct to survive will dominate their head and they'll be busy running with no sense of direction. Ryu had made the same mistake the first time. Only after dying twice did he realize that there was no escape from this dimension. As seen from a female player who was running away until she bumps into a yellow shield. The other player nearby notices what was going on with her as she tries to push past the barrier. A player was holding down a weak-looking goblin while aiming a dagger right in its face. He was hesitating to kill the goblin as it stared back at him with a pitiful look on its face. The player's weakness gave the goblin a chance to fight back as it escaped from his hold, and this time, the player was the prey. The angel was giggling as it watched the players being killed by the goblins, begging for help, but all she saw was an amusing fight between humans and goblins. She knew that even though the goblins were the size of a kid, the humans wouldn't stand a chance against a whole swarm of them, especially if they were armed with daggers. But something else on the battlefield was catching her attention. It was Ryu. Looking at the way he was performing, she wondered what's up with this little human. She could see from his window that his name was Black Scythe, and that he was close to completing the goblin's slain quest. But she was angry with the system and called it shitty for blocking all the player info except for their quest progress. Although it hurts her pride as a noble being for guiding mere mortals, the angel was excited to see that a few of the trashy humans were actually quite interesting. Another goblin has been slain, prompting the notification to appear and allowing the player to gain 4% experience and 10 gold. The system also informs the player that he had leveled up and that there were only 25 goblins left till the quest was complete. Ryu easily dodges a flying dagger as 5 more goblins charge towards him. He easily runs past each of them, stabbing all of them in the chest as a blue streak of light follows behind him. With a casual spin of the dagger in his hand, Ryu aims for the last goblin, who was clearly afraid of him right now. And so, Ryu shows no mercy and stabs the goblin in its face, causing its blood to splatter on his face as he looks up. The other remaining goblins now know who the Big Daddy is as they tremble in fear of Ryu. Looking at their current state, Ryu wipes the blood off his face, believing that he could take a breath right now. He opens his status window to see that he was currently level 4 and had 6 stat points to use. After all, in this game, you can get 2 stat points when you level up, So Ryu decides to play all of his points into his agility stat without hesitation. The reason behind it is because agility raises not only the dodge rate but also attack and movement speed. Ryu also knew that there was nothing more important than agility in the beginning of the game. As he stares at his dagger, Ryu believes that his speed of progress should be enough to draw the angel's attention, making wonder how he should put an end to this. He starts the end by taking out one of the goblins by throwing the dagger into its face. He looks at them to ask if they were going to come at him. The goblins were clearly angered by his insult but hesitated to move against Ryu. He sees this and lets out a sigh, deciding that if they weren't coming to him, then he was going to go to them instead. In a swift motion, he brushes past all the goblins and appears at the one which had his dagger in its skull. The goblin immediately turns around to face Ryu, but it is too late. He cuts every single goblin around him down in an instant, allowing him to level up and complete the quest. The system informs him that he has completed the first round quest, causing a bright yellow pillar of light to appear around him as the bodies of the goblins disappear. As he stayed in the light, Ryu thought of the first round as an easy pass, since he went after the goblins like crazy to catch the angel's attention. The system informs him that he has achieved rank 1 in completing the quest in the given zone. And he had also achieved rank 1 in completing the quest across all the zones. Ryu smiles at the window, since he did everything before in order to achieve rank 1. The sooner you complete a quest of the round, the more favorable the rewards will be because they are granted as per your rank till 3rd place. The reward for achieving rank 1 in his given zone is the lowest rank rare weapon selection coupon. Rewards are given separately for the given zone and all zone categories. And for achieving rank 1 across all zones, the reward is the special reward selection box. Ryu immediately selects the lowest rank coupon, which opens a window presenting him with 3 rare weapon choices. But before he selected one of them, Ryu thought that it was a shame, but he was just thankful to have this in the beginning. And so, he selected the stiletto as his weapon of choice for the reward, which allows him to throw away the goblin's dagger. He also decided to use the all zones special reward selection box for later. As everyone was still batting for their lives against the goblins, Ryu casually opened his status window. Looking at it this time, he notices a title that he had received earlier on, the title of Last Time Regressor, which is currently hidden. This was something that he had never seen in his past 99 tries. We now turn back to the time when the angel gave the random rune to everyone. He uses it and gains the rune of regression, allowing for the system to imprint it onto his body. But due to the remnants of this rune being detected in his soul, the imprinting failed due to the rune's traits. This was expected by Ryu. After all, if a new imprint works, then it would mean that he could regress infinitely. But then a new window appears to inform him that this was his 100th regression, allowing him to gain the title Last Time Regressor, which was something he didn't expect at all. In this game, titles are more superior than runes. The Last Time Regressor title allowed him to stay in soul form for 1 minute upon death. Ryu can also be resurrected at any desired point in time with all his health restored. But since this is a single-use ability, the title will disappear after resurrection. And accordingly, titles are harder to obtain than runes, since their effects were much better. Furthermore, resurrection only exists as the priest's skill, but even that can only restore up to 30% of your health. Meanwhile, this resurrection restores all health, meaning that Ryu has gotten his hands on something really amazing.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.